The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
Hi, good afternoon. We're on Mannin Line, open line today through till 1. The floor's yours. You're on the air by calling 66 13 68. Text 166 177. WhatsApp 166 177. Email studio@manxradio.com. So what's on your mind? That petition calling for the Isle of Man to keep its gold service breast screening programme has got about 3,000 signatures. It's been created by the Manx Breast Cancer Support Group after news that a proposal at the DHSC's mandate for Manx Care is calling for a decrease in the frequency of breast and cervical screening. Any thoughts on this? It's been very much in the news, and perhaps you've signed that petition. Any thoughts on that or anything else? Text, email, call, and WhatsApp. Also, they're doing up the airport. Isn't that nice? No mention of air traffic controllers as yet, and Charlie's first with us today. Hi, Charlie.
Hi, a couple of questions, Andy. Is that Tonka toy white and yellow in the harbour? Is that the dredger that our Manx government have hired to clear the harbour?
It's the Norma 2.
Really? Well, been in construction for 50 odd years. The booms on it, the only time they can be able to dredge is at low tide. Now, are they going to shift the bank around, or are they going to dredge it and take it out and get rid of it?
Well, they were doing it all yesterday. They're dredging it and taking it out because they were taking it out into the bay yesterday.
Right, okay. Would that be at low tide then?
Well, it was about 11 o'clock yesterday morning, 11 to 12, so whenever that. I don't think that was... No, the tide was fairly well in yesterday at that time.
The booms don't live that long on it.
Well, I'll read you some of the spiel. It's the company's called Boscalis Westminster, based in Fareham in Hampshire, on the south coast in Hampshire, and it says you can operate in water injection dredging mode or in plough mode. Accurate horizontal positioning and track plotting is achieved using DGPS to enable targeted dredging. Vertical control is achieved by using tidal data transmitted from shore together with a digital ladder indication. Does that mean anything to you?
Well, that sounds like a load of spiel, but it's taken a long time to get from Fareham to here.
Yes, you would have thought. I mean, at the moment, I think the Taru Usher is being mended at Ramsey.
Yeah, well, unfortunately... already government sold them in Annan, and that's making a fortune on the south coast, cleaning out the estuaries.
When did that go?
Oh, it must be 20 years ago now.
Okay.
But the company apparently making a fortune on the marinas and estuaries on the south coast.
Well, it will be nice to know how much the Norma 2 is costing us, because they don't come cheap on the daily rate.
No, well, it'd probably be cheaper to keep the Mannin.
Yes.
Right. Second question is, has the format of the Mannin Line been changed?
Not that nobody's told me why.
Well, I've always known it to be a phone-in programme.
Yeah, well, it's interaction, really. You're talking about the number of messages that get read out.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Well, from 12:30 to the end of the programme, there was no phone calls on Friday.
Are you sure?
Oh, yes, because I rang up just after 12:30, and my log shows I was on hold. Once I put through to the studio and I get the music and the programme through my phone, I was on hold for 25 minutes,
Good
44
grief. seconds. Well, all I'll tell you
and
is...
then the info come in to close the programme.
Yeah, well,
I know I upset the minister on the last time he was on about the harbour, about the promenade, but Is the programme now getting censored?
No, not that I know of. Nobody's told me, and it's certainly not as far as I'm concerned. I get it both ways, Charlie. 'Cause lots and lots of people send messages in, and if I don't read the messages out, I'm accused of all sorts of things and doing dark deeds. And so they say, these people on the air, they're taking all the time. And as you say, it started off as a phone-in, but since social media's come in with messages and emails and what have you, we try and split it down the middle. I'm sorry if that upset you on Friday. It wasn't intentional. It's just that when lots of messages come in, then, they're read out.
Yeah, but technically it's a phone-in program. The fact is, when it gets put through from your switchboard through to your computer, you can see the name and you can see the question. Like, so Julian on Thursday, he commented on somebody else's question, and you said to him, well, that's not the question you come on for, Julian, because you could see it on your screen.
That's true, yes. Yes. That comes through. So certain things are mentioned.
You knew that I was wanting to ask the Chief Minister about our new sea wall.
Yeah, but I mean, just maybe other people.
I got ignored.
Maybe other people were in the queue ahead of you. Nothing's intentional, Charlie.
Well, if there's people ahead of me, just after 12:30, and not one phone call after 12:30. How many people are ahead of me on the phone?
So you tell me then, what do I say to the people who send messages in and say, you didn't read my message out, you're being censored?
No, you tell them to pick the phone up and ring in.
I know, yes, I know. And lots of people say, I don't want to phone in.
Yeah, but the thing is, when you're not there and what's name takes over, he's always telling people, don't send texts, phone in.
Well, there we are. I'm happy to receive texts. Lots of people haven't got the opportunity to call. Lots of people are at work or they're not near a phone. So if they want to send a text, fine. We call it audience interaction at the moment anyway.
If they're not near a phone, they can't send a text. You can't have it both ways, Andy. Bye.
I know, that's what I say to the listeners who accuse me. You're not taking enough phone calls and you're not reading my message out. Why don't you read my message out? Charlie just told you. Get on the phone. David's on now.
Hi, Andy. Just to reassure Charlie there too, you can bet your bottom dollar the Chief Minister or his aide or somebody else is listening to the Mannin Line today to find out what happened on Friday, to see if he did he do great, did he do well, or did he do anything. But the only criticism I got, it was great, the Chief Minister comes on, gives you the straight question, and I left it with him, but he missed out, Andy, the thing about the property that the DOI own at the bottom of Summer Hill, the stable block there.
Yeah.
He never answered the question on that one, and I was really pleased where he said, regarding Kell Properties and the Newsom site, that somebody's going to get together and make a decision and move things along. And I believe the company, I missed it actually, but the company was on saying they weren't going to do anything else till that one was resolved. Now, we should be doing stuff in the Isle of Man. I've said to you before, haven't I, all gone over all ground there? We've got the Summerland site, the bus station, we got the old school, Park Road. We got 2 pubs. What are we doing with the QB and the other one down at Derby Road there?
How long's that scaffold been at the one at the bottom of Summer Hill now?
I think it's a year. I stand to be corrected because, do you know the great thing now on the promenade where it's, even me, I shouldn't do it really. There's a scaffold and then there's a cone and then the traffic comes down the thing. So it's a little chicane. It's like being on a Grand Prix race, when you do a little whoop.
Yeah.
And then the people are parking there in the fast food place there on the pavement, which causing issues coming back up and down Summer Hill. There's going to be an accident.
Well, you would just think, was there ever a plan for that? What was the plan? They wanted to knock it down at one time, didn't they?
I think they did. I think, and it's a wrong word to say, but I'll use it anyway, I think they got caught with their pants down. They were having a go at the one at Newsom site, and they didn't realise they were doing the same thing undercover themselves. until they were caught out, and we've had for months and months. I do feel sorry for the fellow that's got the business next door, Milky Quail there, because you can't get any near the place for the scaffolding, yellow cones, all sorts of things there. So what are we doing? And and I'm sure the Chief Minister will be listening. If not, I'll send him an email. Is what's happening with that one? Are you going to knock some heads together with that one as well? All right?
Okay, good to hear from you.
Right, sorry, I was going to say, Andy, too. I've had a lot of calls saying it's not a dredger in the harbour.
What is it?
And I do remember, and people will remember too, when they had the old boat, the steam one, and then they had the one that came out was black and white one. They sold it for a song, and it is down south somewhere.
Yeah.
And I remember that, going onto the beach to collect all the seaweed, which they did. Went out to sea, and it took them 2.5 hours because they forgot seaweed floats. All right?
Yeah. Okay. All right. Good to hear from you. Cheers. 17 minutes past 12. Well, if you want any information about the Norma, this is the Norma 2, the one that we have here. If you put in Norma, the company's called Boskalis, Boskalis, Boskalis Westminster, and they're based in Sedgensworth West in Fareham in Hampshire. And if you just put in the dredger Norma, you can see photos of what she does. And the vertical control, it goes on. Water injection is achieved via 2 low-pressure water pumps which circulate water to a specially designed injection head fitted with multiple water jets. Is it a dredger or isn't it? Howard's on now. Hi, Howard.
Hi, Andy. I thought that we'd have a few heads getting banged a day because of the dredger, and it is a dredger, but it's a style of dredger, not a bucket dredger or a grab dredger. And being the nosy individual I am, yesterday afternoon, after you said it was in the harbour, I went down, and it was on the Battery Pier, and it came right in, up against the wall, and a chap got off it. And he was standing there, and he was well dressed. And I, again, to say, being a nosy individual, I went and asked him how it works. And it has a huge plough underneath it. If you look at photographs, if you go on to, as you say, Norma 2, and then images, you'll see there's a large plough underneath. It's a purpose-built vessel. She has 5 crew on board, all living quarters and everything on board. It looks like as Charlie said, a Tonka toy, but it's a purpose-built, and the company that own it, Boskalis, they are a major company worldwide. And she was working in Liverpool, and it was one of the knee-jerk reactions of the DOI that brought it here. They said they were going to have a weekend off, but they got an emergency call to come to Douglas Harbour. And they have their own survey ship. There's a small vessel down there, apparently. This is what this chap was telling me. And they survey the bottom of the harbour, where they can see where the problems are. And that data is then relayed to the dredger, who then go to the areas where it is needed. And if you notice there, I don't know if you had a chance, you're looking out the window, she would get just about 50 yards off the end of the Edward Pier, and she'd be thrashing away medley. And apparently there was a hard patch there. And that makes me think this has been a problem that's been building up for a long time.
Right.
And the vessels coming in have been sitting on the mud gently and compacting it. The vibrations as the ship was going back has been compacting the mud. She was due to go to Scotland, but she's here, and as I said, she'll have the surveys as the ship goes over, and they've done a survey, because I said to them, the channel that's sitting out, he said, well, we've surveyed that and all. He said, and that's virtually clear. So where they were just going out to the mouth of the harbour, and they were discharging amounts of silt that they've picked up, and that was getting swept out to sea. But I was sceptical, but this chap knew what he was doing, and I think he was one of the bosses. And as I say, the vessel is designed purposely for exactly this. And if you look on Google, you'll see it's working in Southampton. He said they do the Manchester Ship Canal, Liverpool. He said we'll be working shortly on the new berth in Liverpool for where the Sea Cat comes in. He said we'll be there doing some work. So this is not a tin pot company. It's a firm that seems to know exactly what they're doing.
Now, being nosy, Howard, you didn't ask him how much they charge him per day, did you?
I think I'd be sitting there, or lying there trying to swim. I don't think I'd find that out. But this was an emergency. But what he did say, it is only a temporary fix. And this is going to have to be a full-scale harbour dredging eventually. And he said other companies, and ourselves included, will all have to tender for it. It's not a foregone conclusion. So this is something that is going to assist. And I learned something yesterday, and I've been a long time on this planet. How many spring tides do you think we have?
Oh, Lord. No. 12, perhaps?
We have one every fortnight.
20. So we have 26.
Yes. Apparently, well, I looked it up yesterday, and because of the relation of the Earth and the Moon, over the 28 days, every 14 days there's what we loosely term as a spring tide. In my mind, the spring tide was only in the spring. I used to often wonder why we call it spring tide in the autumn. But apparently, this is nature, and there's a spring tide every fortnight. So this must have been a well-known fact to the DOI, who have been sitting on their hands and thinking this might go away, but it didn't.
And that's the point, Howard. This was never going to solve itself.
No, it's nature. There's nothing you can do about it. But the DOI have taken on the job of maintaining the harbours and the airports and everything, and they're just not up to the task. And nature's going to take it. As soon as they've built that stupid wall down on the promenade, nature will take over there, and they'll have one that'll be about 9 foot tall before they're finished. But the harbour itself, it's always been getting silted up, and they've always had, well, they had the Mannin, the steam one, and then the diesel one, which they sold, and that went on to earn money after it was sold from here, and they were continuously dredging the harbour here. But there's been nothing. The Tarawushti, that'll only tickle the surface. Because I remember one fellow saying we put an A-frame on the back of it, and the first dredge down the harbour, it pulled the A-frame off. So this company is here, Boxalis. Anybody's got it, look it up on the internet, and you'll see that it is a reputable company. I've got no axe to grind here. And they're worldwide. And they work all the ports. They will actually do construction work and everything. According to this, they've got somewhere in the region of 500 vessels. Now, that's not a small company.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, Howard, we appreciate that. Thanks for calling today.
Take care. Bye now.
Good to hear from you. 24 minutes past 12. Michael's with us now. Hi, Michael.
Hi, Andy. Just wanted to say it's very disappointing that they've reduced the breast cancer screening to once in every 3 years. I think this is very short-sighted because by the time it comes around to 3 years, many cancers will have grown, and it'll probably cost more money to get rid of those cancers. They'll be more invasive by that time. And so what they're saving on one hand, they'll be paying out with the other just a little way down the road.
Michael, I had a message came into me earlier on this morning to my desk, and it was from a lady called Wendy. I'm not going to say any more, but Wendy just said her heart sank over the weekend because in her family there is a genetic tendency towards cancer, and she said she was ready for the breast screening program and wanted it. And when she heard it, she literally had to sit down because her legs almost went from underneath her. And it's that sort of silent terror that lots of people suffer from regarding cancer. And the fact that this is being taken away, obviously is a surprise to many people and a shock.
Well, yeah, and it'll probably be more. It'll probably cost them for curing people's mental anxieties over this.
So, what do you think? You obviously think it should be reinstated.
Indeed, yeah. And as the cancer charities have said, that they put most of the money to get all this equipment into our facilities, and then the government's just really letting side down on that.
Okay, Michael, thanks for calling today.
Right, no problem, Andy. Bye-bye.
Good to hear from you. Thanks for that. And here's Ewan with us now. Hi, Ewan.
Hey, Andy. How are you this morning?
I'm all right, thanks. Yes, very well. It's a nice day. It was a bit blowy, but,
No, it's good. It's still early March, isn't it? So, I listened to Charlie there before, and it's don't worry, Charlie. I was in front of you, and I didn't get on either. So I thought I'd drill down on some questions with Al Cannon, but I know the government don't like drilling at the moment, so I didn't think that would happen.
Thank you. We saw what you did.
Yes. A few things I wanted to mention about that, and just quickly on the Mannin cancer thing there. I'm looking at Julie Stokes's comments and Carol Mayall's comments. The amount of money that these two people, the whole group has raised. I mean, fantastic money, best equipment that we've got in I think the UK, and they weren't even consulted by government about this. And like many other things, government seems to be railroading and out of control at the moment with things. And this is why people have got no confidence, because they're just not consulting anyone anymore on what they're doing, and spending money, changing things. And as we said before in this programme, government's supposed to be here to represent the people. And at the moment, they just seem to be running wild with stuff. So going back to Friday, a comment that was the first comment that Alf made of the question that you asked him. And I think he cited, we're dealing with a new world order we are facing and external challenges. So tell me what he means by New World Order, Andy.
I don't know. What do you think he means?
Well, I mean, if you look at, obviously, the conspiracy things that's going round, I mean, obviously, it's not ever mentioned by the BBC, but, I mean, what do you know about New World Order? Because everything that seems to be happening, like your 20 mile an hour, your access zones, and all this kind of stuff, all seems to be playing to the conspiratorial New World Order, but actually seems to be happening at the moment. So maybe Alf could explain what he means by New World Order. So the point that he made about the private members' bills and government not associated with private members' bills per se, it's for the individual. So my question would have been to the Chief Minister, if they're not, who pays for the legal drafting of these bills that are presented by the members?
Well, presumably it's that department, the department within government that does that.
Well, I would probably say then it's the Attorney General's department that would be associated with it, because I can't see DOI actually writing this stuff. I mean, they're great at copy and pasting legislation from the UK, but to put it into proper draft, I would imagine the AG's office would be involved in this, and therefore then the ratepayers' money the taxpayers' money would be involved in this. So for him to say that the private members' bills are nothing to do with government would be probably slightly wrong. And it seems to be they found a way or an angle of railroading important stuff through and diverting it away from proper points that need to be brought up through Tynwald and members by bringing in this stuff, because everything that's coming in, the important stuff, all seems to be coming in on private members' bills, which is the assisted dying, the bashing the bishop. Everything seems to be brought through the back door, if I could say that. So someone seems to maybe have found a way of getting this stuff through that way. I don't know. But Alf and the rest of the people need to start reading the room. The people on the island are just not happy about what's going on at the moment, and I'm sure they've all heard before we've had the worst government ever. Well, the way that this government is acting, we're weak-kneed politicians who are not standing up to bullying from civil servants. And again, we make this point of trying to not spend too much money. The biggest growth that we've got still is government. I mean, the amount of stupid title jobs that keep getting brought up within government, which we have got to pay for. So, I mean, and another point that was made there was reference made to the Newsom site on the Quay. And after talking to people within Kel Properties, I mean, how would you like it if a preservation order is slapped on you after you have purchased a property to do something good with it?
And was that the case? Was that the preservation order was put on after?
I'm going by information given to me by Kel Properties, and that's all I can say on that. So, what message does that send out to other investors coming to the island? And I refer back to a possible 90 million now court case, which is being brought through, or going to the courts, through the person or the company that was involved in the Lord Street site. 90 million. And this person is saying he's got a good chance of winning. So, I mean, all these investors talk to each other. What's going on here? What message is this government sending out? And again, at the appeal at the Kel Properties event, there was no fairness in the appeal. If we look at how long that Kel Properties got to actually respond in the appeal process and how much time the other side was given, there was no fairness in this. And I think if David Ashford would have actually been chairing the meeting as he should have been, then maybe things would have been a bit different, but he stood down. So there's a lot of questions to be asked within this. And my point is here, we've got investors who are wishing to spend money in the island and promote it. These things, something's going on here that needs to be addressed. They talk about transparency from the first day they came into government, these people, but there's no transparency here. Civil servants seem to be running slipshod over everything.
Okay. Well, this Wednesday we'll be able to talk to the current chair of the Planning Committee, Rob Callister, MHK, is on, so we'll ask him what his view is of that and, regarding planning in general. I got a note in for a couple of people, just WhatsApped in, Steve and John, who just said the New World Order. I think they reckon that Mr. Cannon was referring to the New World Order was basically the USA and Russia and Ukraine, and basically how everything's changed in the past few months since Mr. Trump got into office.
Yes, and certainly it was, and certainly some of it needed to. I mean, the wokeology that we've accepted is absolutely pathetic. What's going on and stuff. So it did need to change. But I would like reference. It's all right saying that, but I'd like reference from Al Cannon what he meant from that, because at the moment, them three words are quite prolific around the world at the moment. So, what did he actually mean by that? It was like just a little hand grenade thrown in right on the first comment there.
Okay.
And like I say, I mean, I mentioned to Alf, was it 2 years ago about chemtrails? We've got so many states in America now at the moment who are taking this to court and actually trying to stop it. And a Lufthansa pilot who's taken Lufthansa to court for saying that he refused to fly a plane with chemtrails. So for something that doesn't exist, which everyone keeps saying, how are you taking things to court for something that doesn't exist? I'll leave that little conspiracy theory with you, Andy.
All right, thanks for that, June. And of course, needless to say, whenever we talk about contrails or chemtrails, the aviation industry poo-poo the whole thing and say nothing is happening. So, as you say, it may be conspiracy theory, but there we are. 25 to 1 now. Peter's on now. Hi, Peter.
Oh, hello, Andy. I can always tell when it's coming to my turn that your voice gets a little bit louder on the telephone. It's Peter Murcott here. Now, tonight at 6:30, I'm giving an address about the Safe Access Zones Bill at the invitation of Julie Edge at the hub at Onken. It's a community centre. I've not actually been there before. And so in preparation for this, I thought I'd just have a look and see if I could find out what the English legislation was saying on these safe access zones. And the only thing I've been able to dig out is Section 9 of the Public Order Act, UK Act, 2023. And I've just been doing a study of what it says. The difference is quite startling, actually, and it shows that the Manx legislation is far more draconian. The UK Act, unless there's another one, simply is about abortion. The access zones are slightly larger. They're 150 metres, but there's no provision for extension, so they can't shut the UK down altogether, unlike in the Isle of Man, where they can extend their access zones to an unlimited degree. There are no prison sentences in it, unlike the Manx legislation. It doesn't include church property, which the Manx legislation would. No anonymising of buildings. There's no indirect way of committing the offence. There's far fewer offences. In fact, there's only one that's also in the Manx legislation. That's about influencing someone. That's a very vague term. But the other things that are in the Manx legislation, like informing, advising, persuading, or a mysterious offence where it would be, it's almost a victimless offence where it's an offence persistently, continuously, and repeatedly to occupy all or any of a safe access zone, which actually, taken literally, would catch everybody who lives in it. They'd be committing an offence by just living there. And it doesn't include counselling places, which are separate from the abortion clinics. The Manx legislation is very, very wide, actually. It includes A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H on healthcare services, medical research, and so on. And so when you look at the Manx legislation and just comparing the two, unless there is some other comparable legislation in England, it's completely draconian. And I just hope that the general public realises how draconian it is. It would appear to go far, far beyond what the English legislation's done, and that's not satisfactory in itself. And so I think the sooner that the general public gets alerted to what's going on to freedom of expression in this country, the better they will be.
And do you think that all MHKs, co-min and backbenchers are fully au fait with the implications of it? I think I was listening to when you were being interviewed recently and talking about the fact that this can be changed almost at a moment's notice, that whatever the government perceives is an exigency at the time, it can be changed and a site can be created.
Well, that would probably come under any other activity prescribed in regulations made by the department, and as long as it relates in some way to the health, because it's the Ministry of Health, yes, I mean, they could add that. Incidentally, it was a bit disappointing. I don't think from the news item, I do not think from what was broadcast, because it was so short, that people would get remotely the urgency about this. Partly because it was only on for about 2 or 3 minutes, and it's so complex, it really needs a public meeting to have it fully explained with questions at the end and so on. That's what I've been doing so far. We've had 2 meetings, both been well attended. We shall have one tonight. We're going to have another one tomorrow night at Peel Catholic Church.
Okay, where's tonight's meeting, Peter?
Tonight, it's at, they call it the Hub. I'm not quite sure why. It's in School Road in Onken. It's just on the left-hand side up there. It's a community hall. I'd not actually ever been in there before. Julie Edge is organising it, and it will be at 6:30 till 8 o'clock.
Okay,
so anyone who wants to come.
The Hub in Onken tonight at 6:30, and Peel tomorrow at what time?
Peel Catholic Church. That would be at 7 o'clock.
Okay, I appreciate you calling today.
Okay, thanks
Peter.
Andy.
Bye-bye now.
You.
20 to 1 on Manx Radio. Well, just look at this story about the breast screening programme. It's a proposal that isn't welcomed by the Manx Breast Cancer Support Group. And here's the chair, Julie Stokes.
Well, it might be saving money, but it's certainly not going to be saving anybody's life. You know, the 2 yearly screening programmes in Europe are actually proven to have a 25 to 30% mortality reduction in women between the ages of 50 and 74 years. It just proves that early detection means less radical surgery, less expensive drugs, less hospital stays, less trauma for the patient and for their families. This has got to be taken into account, but I'm afraid that DHSC and Public Health aren't doing that. They're looking at the bottom line. They're looking at a saving for now. And they're not really thinking about patients' health. I thought the Isle of Man was all about cancer prevention, catching cancer early. I thought that's what it was all about. No, it's not. No, it's not at all. I've been a volunteer fundraiser for the last 14 years. I have never seen such a backward step as this in all that time. I'm shocked and like I said, horrified that, they're going to allow cancer to remain undetected for another 12 months. And that's basically what's happening. We're going to find those cancers at a much greater stage where they need far more intervention, where people's lives are at risk and their outcomes are far, far worse.
That was Julie Stokes from the Manx Breast Cancer Support Group. Malcolm Clegg is a name many people will know. Malcolm Clegg is a former surgeon who was part of the group that helped bring the screening programme to the Isle of Man in 1998. Malcolm Clegg is the chair of the Isle of Man Anti-Cancer Association, who believes extending screening time from 2 years to 3 is illogical.
We know that tumours start very small. They grow slowly to start with, but accelerate as they get bigger. And that if a lady has a mammogram, which at the time that she has a mammogram may have a very small, undetectable tumour, and we're talking about millimetres, but in 2 years, if that tumour is there and grows, will get to a certain size. If it's 3 years before that tumour is detected, does that have an adverse effect on patients' outcome? And although, as I say, there is a potential cost saving in extending the time interval, what we want is what's best for individual Manx people.
Do we have quite a few women on the island going for these screenings?
Across the UK and on the island, there's somewhere around 2/3 to 3/4 of people who are invited to attend turn up or accept their mammogram appointment. And this is another slight concern I have at this stage, is if Manx Care is going to send out a message that you don't need to have mammograms as often as before, it might make people feel and discourage them from coming forward, thinking that it can't matter that much anyway. And here we are as a charity trying to raise cancer awareness, trying to encourage ladies to come forward for cervical smears and for mammograms, and Manx Care possibly sending out messages that says it doesn't matter.
You heard Julie Stokes and you heard Malcolm Clegg. Now, what's your opinion? What's your view? Text 166 177, email studio@manxradio.com, WhatsApp 166 177, call 66 13 68.
A new bed? What a great idea! Especially when Miller Chaps have such a superb range. From traditional springs with Hypnos luxury wool and natural fillings to latex and the famous Temper mattress. Choose from bed frames and storage divans of all types. With friendly staff happy to explain the range, special offers throughout, and time to lie down and actually try the mattresses. When it's time for a good night's sleep, it's time to visit Miller Chaps of Ramsey.
Every day, Manx Petroleum is fueling the heartbeat of our island. Going with the flow, we keep homes warm and businesses running. 100% Manx owned and the largest family-run distributor, our customer services are at the heart of your community. And as the island's only provider of oil deliveries, boilers and tank installation services altogether, there's no need to shop around. Manx Petroleum, always here for you, because this island is our home too. Visit mp.im.
Spectrum Windows. If your house needs a new look and your windows let in rain, keep those cold breezes out and make it look like new again. Spectrum Windows, Spectrum Windows. Quality through and through. Great work guaranteed to you. Spectrum Windows, Spectrum Windows. Spectrum Windows.
Employers having trouble with staff and need reliable advice? Employees, are you treated fairly in the workplace or do you have a grievance?
The workplace can be problematic on both sides. For any work-related legal issue, contact the employment law experts, Man Benham. They advise employers and staff on all work-related problems with sound professional advice and a transparent fee policy. To arrange your free consultation at Man Benham, call today on 639 350.
Man Benham, here for you.
The Local Government Amendment Bill appeared to be a largely uncontroversial piece of legislation, providing updates and improvements to the Acts, which allow commissioners and councillors to deliver services to us, the ratepayers. Uncontroversial until Laurie Hooper tried to introduce 3 new clauses which significantly alter the relationship between central and local government. We find out more on Agenda this evening at 5:30 on Manx Radio with me, Phil Gaughan. Local authorities are far from happy, but is this a much-needed reform to drive forward better local services? Expect fiery brands and pitchforks at dawn.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
Mark dropped a note in just to say there's no such thing as chemtrails. There are only contrails, which is condensation, which is the water vapour from the exhaust of jet aircraft, one of the products of burning kerosene. Water vapour. So contrails, yes. Chemtrails, no. And 653 said the Lufthansa pilot report was a spoof. It was satirical. Please clear it up. Thanks for calling. Eddie's with us now.
Hi, Andy. 2 points, if I may.
Yeah.
One, you've just had Peter on, which brings me to a subject. I went to one of his talks, and I found it absolutely riveting. It was really interesting. The man knows what he's talking about. He's qualified in every way. And it struck me one thing about it. It may even concern you. If this law goes ahead, we may have no Mannin Line, because people coming on and suggesting certain things could be considered to be influencing, and you may have to be shut down because of all these things. After listening to the lecture, I thought you won't be able to do anything because somebody can just bring it in that you've just insinuated or influenced, or it'll become a stupid world, really. Do you not think yourself that you might get shut down because of this? Have you actually looked at the law?
Well, the thing is, those sort of decisions are way above me. You see, I'm merely toiling at the coalface here. So there are all sorts of people, and there are people like the Communications Commission. There are people in charge there who decide what's what. I mean, what we have to do, the purpose of Mannin Line basically, is for people to have good-natured, civilised debate about things that concern them. That's really what we seek to do. And we take it from there, Eddie.
Yeah, and it was just a thought. I thought perhaps you might, be worried about it yourself. But, well, not you worried, but the radio itself, because the radio is very influential.
Wait, what about letters to the newspaper, though?
Exactly. It's just going to go, it's going to snowball into, and the bit that got me when Peter was explaining it all is the secrecy of it all. They can just, at a moment's notice, declare that as a safety zone, so-and-so as a safety zone, and extend it and say, oh, you're in it, but without telling you you're in it. It's a very, very stupid bit of legislation, in my opinion.
And as you say, I mean, regarding things like, broadcasters like radio and newspapers, we're covered by statute, we're covered by law. When you get to the internet and social media, that's not covered. So the social media is like the Wild West. It's like graffiti on a wall, because wherever the server is, whether it's in Kazakhstan or Southern California, it's not in the Isle of Man. So that's the whole issue, that they may be able to say that about, existing media, but it just doesn't cover social media, and will never cover social media.
Well, that most common sense thing that I heard in the statements was that, we've already got a law for everything that they're trying to say in this new legislation. We've already got a law. Anyway, I'll leave that one with you. But my second point was Friday's show. I was on, as you know.
Yeah.
And usually you always say to me, Eddie, has that answered your question? Don't you?
Well, yeah, sometimes. We were under a lot of pressure on Friday. We had loads and loads of messages, and the phone calls, the switchboard was jammed all the way through.
Well, when I asked my question about the wind turbines and so forth, I gave him the points about 90% of the people down the south do not want it. I have found 32 reasons why not to have it. And today, I've been driving around all over the place, particularly just below the line of heathland. And we've had no rain really for about, how long would you say? A week and a half?
Yeah, I mean, we've had bits and bats, haven't we?
Yeah, bits and bobs, but the water is still seeping through that slowing down sponge.
Yeah.
We have still got water coming through all that land. Now imagine if you take all that heathland off, the most obvious thing that's going to happen is it's going to run straight off it. And there's a perfect example for anybody who wants to see it for themselves, is to just drive round it below the heathlands and you'll see the water slowly seeping back out of it again. And it does it for weeks and weeks. So that proves that point about flooding. But the other thing I was going to say, Andy, was I think I've mentioned it a dozen times. Whenever there's anything dead important on, like the Chief Minister and things, everything that's going on at the moment, because there isn't anybody got a good word for the government at the moment. That should have been a 2-hour show to cover. Charlie was moaning before about not getting on. I spoke to one of your phone men, that answers the phone, and he says you can only have 4 at a time on stacker. Is that right?
We have we've got a 4-line exchange into the studio.
Yeah, well, if you've got a show for 2 hours, you'd cover all those people that were waiting. And they are very important things. That's our Chief Minister. I wanted to actually say, but you cut me off on Friday, I was going to finalise everything by saying to the Chief Minister, after explaining everything I've just explained now about the wind turbines, what has happened since 2013 when both him and his dad, it's down in black and white. They both said, no way will we ever have wind turbines on land in the Isle of Man.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Appreciate it, Eddie. Thanks for calling today.
Thank you.
As the hot air balloon lifted off, Ellie's financial future rose too. Secure, steady and full of possibility. All thanks to Skipton International Guernsey and their fixed 4.4% AER saving rate until March 31st, 2026 on deposits of £100,000 or more. Let your money soar with confidence. Join Ellie and secure your rate today at Skipton.
For details on Skipton savings products, call 01481 730 730 or visit skiptoninternational.com. No withdrawals allowed until maturity. Interest paid annually and upon maturity. Skipton International is licensed to take deposits by the GFSC and is a participant in the Guernsey Banking Deposit Compensation Scheme. See dcs.gg.
This old house needed new windows. This old house needed a new door. And with DPM Conservatories, we got all that and more. Now our bills are lower and the house is warmer too. We're cleaner and we're greener since we swapped our old for new. Stunning A+ rated replacement windows and doors, expertly fitted by DPM Conservatories. Phone 612 333 or find them on Facebook and swap your old for new.
At EVF service stations, you can fuel yourself as well as your vehicle. Hot and cold food to go, chilled drinks, and even lottery tickets too. Great choice and value to make life more convenient. Fill up, fuel up with Ellen Vannin Fuels. Visit us at evf.co.im. Stocks and offers may vary between locations.
This Easter, don't miss the Dino Express Easter Holiday Adventure. Journey from Douglas Station to Ballasalla with a dinosaur treasure hunt on the way. Then your Jurassic Ranger will escort you by bus to Russian Abbey, where you'll meet Loki the Velociraptor, Bronwyn the Brontosaurus, and much more. To avoid dinosaur disappointment, book now. Call 662 525 or visit rail.im.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
A note in from Pamela. She said, I just want to say a huge thank you to the people who helped me this morning. I was in Ramsey and I had a fall. Amongst others, there were two gentlemen from Isle of Man Meats and the pharmacist from Baker's Pharmacy. They were all very calm and very considerate. I'm very, very grateful to them. And we're happy to put that on record, Pamela. Thanks for getting in touch. Why is women's health and welfare and care constantly being hit by Manx care, says Anonymous. To say it's a disgrace is an understatement. Every area that affects women seems to be slashed at the tip of a hat. We're going backwards when we should be going forwards and enhancing it. Sorry, it's from Joe. Thank you, Joe. And I hope, says David, every MHK who has a wife or girlfriend, the girlfriends and wives will be letting their husband know how she feels regarding the mammogram changes. I think it's diabolical, says David. Cutting health screening is false economy as it costs us more to treat advanced conditions. Government is intent on the money grab. It doesn't care about the bigger picture, says that correspondent. With the harbour in Douglas now being dredged, wouldn't it make sense to dredge the south side of Edward Pier, as it may be a good future berth for the Ben McCree or Mannin Fastcraft, and that maybe then opens that part of the pier as well for passenger or freight by the Arrow. Can you ask the government, says Boris. Hello, Boris. What's happening to the old test centre? I thought Swagelog had it. It's been empty since the government moved into the new test centre. I noticed loads of Manx independent wagons parked there for the past few weeks. So what's happened to the old test centre? And Andy said, I'm at work most days between midday and 1, so I can't get to the phone, hence the message. No message, just saying thank you. Oh, and the sewage pipes are burst apparently outside Lloyd's, says Robert. Sick emoji. Thanks to Howie on the phone. He's going to be back tomorrow.
WINT